closest to the call button if they want. But on worksheet 8, we're going to learn about calculator magic. You're going to be really excited when you figure out what this looks like. I think you would be more excited if we had taken time to do these by hand the other day. I want you to just watch. You don't need to write any of this down. When we skipped this section in worksheet 2 or 3, 1, 2, 2, 3 equations and 3 variables, we got to skip this. Let me talk you through the process, okay? You would decide you're going to get rid of a variable like y. You would add possibly these two together, and then the y would drop out. Okay, just watch here. Please don't be on your phone doing something different, okay? But then you need to pick a different set of 2 equations and make the same variable drop out. So if I took this equation and I took this equation down here and I multiplied it by a 2, so that the y would now be a 2y and this was a negative 2y. Did I multiply that through right, guys? Okay, then I added those together. I'd have 5x minus 5z equals negative 15. Right, now I have 2 equations here and here that have the same set of 2 variables. Okay. If I took this one and I put it under here and I changed all the signs, so I multiplied it through by a negative 1, I'd have negative 5x plus 5z equals 15. Then if I added these 2 together, I'd get 4z equals 8, z equals 2. Then I'd plug that z back in anywhere I wanted. (5x minus 10 equals negative 15, so 5x equals negative 5, x equals negative 1. Then I would put that x and that z back in one of these to solve for y. I'm going to pick this middle one, 2x plus, no, sorry, supposed to be putting that negative 1 in there. I'm like, wait a minute. 2 times negative 1 plus y minus 3 times 2 equals negative 7. So I had negative 2 plus y minus 6 equals negative 7. That's a negative 8 plus y equals negative 7. So I got y equals 1, I think. So I wound up with a negative 1, a 1, and a 2. Okay. A little room for error on these. Real easy to make a mistake somewhere, right? Long, complicated mess. Yes, go ahead. Okay. We're not going to do these by hand this year. Okay. In the past, I've made students learn to do them by hand so that they appreciated this matrix method. Okay. Now, I want to show you how I learned what's called Gauss-Jordan elimination method when I was in school. We learned to use matrices, okay? What you're going to do is write what's called an augmented matrix. You're just going to get rid of all the variables. Everybody see where these numbers come from? 1, negative 2, 1, negative 1. That's the first row. 2, 1, negative 3, negative 7. That's the second row. 3, negative 1, 2, 0. That's the third row. This little line, it's usually a dotted line here, just represents that's where the equal signs were. Okay? Everybody see what we did? Because you are going to have to do this. It's actually a question on the final. All right. So then without the variables in there are a bunch of things you're allowed to do. You can interchange any 2 rows because it's basically just rewriting the equations in a different order. You can multiply anything through by a number. Same thing. How I just did. Remember I multiplied through by 5 or whatever to make something cancel, or negative 1. And you can add rows together. We did that, right? We added 2 equations together, come up with a new equation. All right. So this is the way I learned to do matrices. 1, negative 2, 1, negative 1, 2, 1, negative 3, negative 7, 3, negative 1, 2, 0. The goal was to get a 1 here and use it to eliminate both of these. Okay. Actually, I think I will add these two together. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do so I don't do something weird here. All right. So help me because this math is going to be tricky. I'm going to multiply the top row by negative 2 and add it to the second row without rewriting it. So I'm going to leave the top one like this. Okay. So that second row, if I multiplied this by a negative 2, it would become negative 2. Add it to that, it would be 0. What's negative 2 times a negative 2? Added to 1 would be negative 2 times 1, negative 2, added to negative 3, negative 5. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. Added to that is negative 5. What? Did I do something wrong? Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the top row, and I'm going to multiply it by a negative 3 and add it to the bottom row. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Added to this is 0. This would be 6. Added to negative 1 would be 5. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Added to 2 would be negative 3 times negative 1 is 3. Added to 0 is 3. Okay? All I did was get rid of the variables. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is divide this row through by 5. So I have 1, negative 2, 1, negative 1, 0, 1, negative 1, negative 1, 0, 5, negative 1, 3. Okay? The next thing I'm going to do is multiply this middle row by a 2 and add it to the top row. So 2 times 0 added to 1 is still 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Added to negative 2 is 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Added to 1 is 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Added to negative 1 is negative 3. Okay. Now I'm going to multiply it by a negative 5, the same row, and add it to the bottom one. 0 times negative 5 added to 0. Oh, I'm leaving the middle one the same, by the way. Okay, added down here is still 0. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Added to 5 is, that's why I made it a 5, because I want to make that a 0. Negative 5 times negative 1 is 5. Added to negative 1 would be 4. Negative 5 times negative 1 is 5. Added to 3 is 8. Yes. Because I didn't, yes, I chose to keep it the same. You're not going to have to do this. The calculator's going to do this. I just want to show you how much fun this is, okay? But it's better than the way I just did, honestly. But anyway, if I take this bottom row and I divide it by 4, what would it have? 0, 0, 1, 2. This one is 0, 1, negative 1, negative 1. I'm going to stop here. We used to go further than this, but I want to show you what we just did. If I put back in the variables, what does this bottom equation say? 0x plus 0y plus 1z equals 2. Okay? We just found z equals 2. Now, if I go back up here, what does this equation say? 0x plus minus z equals, so if I put the 2 in there, y minus 2 equals negative 1, add over there and I get y is 1. Okay. What about that top equation? What does it say? Minus z equals negative 3. If I put the 2 in there, I have x minus 2 equals negative 3. I add 2 over here, I get x equals negative 1. So without the variables, I got negative 1, 1, and 2. Is that the same thing I had a minute ago? I sure hope so. Negative 1, 1, and 2. Did I get negative 1, 1, and 2? Oh, phew. Okay. If I can do that 3 times today without screwing it up. All right. The calculator will do this for you. Okay? I want you to flip to 8B, No, we're not doing calculator quite yet. I want you to write down what it means. On the back of your worksheet, we're not doing the whole front, basically, guys. What is the calculator going to do for us, okay? The command we're going to use is called RREF, which stands for Reduced Row Echelon Form. You don't have to know that. You just got to know RREF, okay? But it stands for Reduced Row Echelon Form. Row echelon form means that the rows are all zeros, okay? Rows consisting of entire zeros will be at the bottom. The first entry in any row is going to be a 1 or a 0 if it's not a 0. The first non-zero entry in a row is going to be a 1, okay? For 2 successive rows with non-zero entries, okay, yeah, okay. Reduced row echelon form. The calculator is going to do it for us. We'll come back to this about multiple solutions. Let's go to the calculator. So this is the set of equations I was doing all this time. So the form or what we want to put in our calculator, this is the augmented matrix. Everybody good? We took out all the variables, right? Okay. Yes, it's the one from the front side of the worksheet. All right, so flip back over to the front. The problem I just did twice, okay? We're gonna take our calculator and we're gonna go where we went yesterday to a matrix. Do you remember how to get there? Second, and then matrix or that x to the -1 button. Okay, we're gonna go over to edit. Now, this was already written on your paper, but what size was this? We had 3 equations, so there were 3 rows, right? But how many columns? 4. Yes, we put in X, Y, Z, and then what they were equal to, right? So 4. So we're going to go over to edit, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it in matrix A, and it is a 3 by 4. Now, you might have different numbers in here. It doesn't matter. We're just going to type over them anyway. Everybody here. Anybody need help getting here? Okay. Now I want you to enter in the matrix that's on your worksheet. Can anybody read it to me? 1, enter, -2, enter. Three. Thank you. All right. Everybody good? I will tell you the smallest mistake, a 1 for a 2 or a 1 in the wrong spot or a negative for a positive makes a huge mess out of these, okay? You will know if you make a mistake because your answers will be totally different. All right. Then we're going to quit because we have to go to the home screen. Everybody good? Second mode, quit. Okay. We're going to go back into matrix, but we want to go 1 arrow to the right to math. Now, there's a lot of things we could do with these. This first is the determinant that we briefly discussed yesterday, which you're not going to have to do on a quiz. They actually hid this on purpose because they didn't want kids to know you could do this years ago. Now we just all teach it. So it's kind of at the bottom of the list. I'm going to arrow up to get there a little faster, but you're looking for RREF. It's B. Now there is just row echelon form, and there's reduced row echelon form. Reduced row echelon form means it's been reduced as far as it can be. It's the nicest one, okay? So find RREF, hit enter, and then you got to put the name of the matrix that you want it to do that to. So go back, second matrix, A, enter. Okay, you have to know what this means. What does this mean? 1x plus 0y plus 0z equals negative 1. 0x plus 1y plus 0z equals, so what it's saying is x equals, yep, everybody good? Okay, everybody good with what we got? The same as that, it's the same answer as the other one. The two I did by hand, two different ways. All right, we are gonna go, okay, I gotta back up a second to this. By the way, this method is also called Gauss-Jordan elimination, the method used to get reduced row echelon form, where I did it by hand without the variables in there, okay? You don't need to know that either, but, all right, I want you to look up here. It says, when solving a system of equations, if a matrix cannot be written in a reduced row echelon form, then the system has either no solution or infinitely many solutions. Remember we talked about this, if all the variables dropped out and you had a sentence like 7 equals 9, then there was no solution. It meant the lines were parallel. If everything canceled out, it meant it was really the same line. Is this sounding familiar? Okay. This is going to show up in an interesting way when you do reduced row echelon form. What's going to happen is you're going to get a situation like this, and you have to be able to do this on the final and on the quiz. First of all, this one, if I was using x, y, and z, tell me what this equation is. X equals y equals and z. So you have 19, 4, and negative 20. Do you have this one?
Yes.
Okay. Is it on side B? Everybody find it on side B? I'll give you a chance to write it down. Make sure you think about how it means X, Y, and Z, because that's going to be really important for this next part. Okay, the second one says what? No. It says X plus 0y minus Z equals 0. And then it says y plus 2z equals 0. The last one, though, says 0 x's, 0 y's, and 0 z's somehow equals 1. Can 0 equal 1? Okay, so this is the one that's no solution. And now, when I do this next one, students get so confused. When is it no solution? When is it many solutions? Well, this is a false statement, right? 0 can't equal 1. All right. This next one has x minus 6z equals 4. Everybody with me? The second equation says y plus 2z equals negative 3. And the third equation says 0 equals 0. All right. This is not a false statement. It is true. This means there are many solutions to this set of equations. Okay? Now, you have to do more when there are many solutions. You have to write an ordered triple in terms of one variable. Hang on. What is the one that these have in common? They both have a z, right? So what we're going to do is say z could be any number. And then we have to solve in terms of z. We're going to solve for y. So what is y going to say? We get the y by itself right here.
Y.
Negative 3 minus 2z. I don't have much room, but I'll write it down here again. Negative 3 minus 2z. We got the y by itself in terms of z. Now what are we going to do for this top one? We're going to say x equals in terms of z. We add that over there. We'll have what? Yeah, 4 plus 6z or 6z plus 4, doesn't matter. So now, while there are infinitely many solutions, this has to be true about the relationship between them. So if I said z was 0, what would this become right here? -3 minus 2 zeros would be 4 plus 6 times 0 would be. So there's one of the many solutions. What if I said z was 1? This would be -3 minus 2 times 1, which would be -5. This would be 4 plus 6 times 1, which would be 10. Okay. Again, I picked a random value for z. I used to make students always do this and give me at least 2 of the many solutions. This time all it asks for is this. Okay. When is it many solutions versus no solution? Yes, when you have a whole row of zeros, okay, it's many solutions. And then you have to write out what they mean and get them all in terms of one variable. All right, we are going to jump to problem number 2 down at the bottom. Now, they are evil and tricky. How are we going to write? Okay, first of all, it's going to say write the augmented matrix on your quiz. And you have to know how to write it. And actually, that's a full question right there. What will this look like if we write it as an augmented matrix, meaning with everything except the variables in? Please be careful. -1, -1z, and -11. The second one is a killer. 1x, 0y's, -1z equals 2. And the third one, we have 0x, 2y, +4z equals 0. Everybody okay? I gotta tell you, on the quiz, I was even really nice, and I kind of lined them up and left spaces where there was missing stuff so you didn't goof it up. Hopefully you'll pay attention. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Ready? Okay, we have to go put it in. So we go second matrix, over to edit. It is a 3x4 still.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's reading them? Tristan, you got me again? Okay. Now, we're going to quit, go to the home screen. Now, actually, if you had this at the top, Rref of A, and you just put that in A, you could just hit enter and it'd give you the answer. But I want you to do that because I want you to practice where it is, okay? So where is it again? Second matrix, over to math, and then it's B here. And then second matrix to get the name. All right. Does this one have a nice solution? Okay. The first equation says x equals 3, y equals -2, and z equals 1, right? No rows of zeros or untrue statements. So we could just write it as an ordered triple. When we're all done, it came out. Tell me again what the answer was. Okay. I should quick copy that screen on there. So that's what we got. Okay. Let's try number 3. All right. What are we putting in this time? -3, 4, -1, -10. 6, -1, -5, -29. 4, -5, 1, 11. Okay. This is the augmented matrix. I know a lot of you went straight to your calculator, but you have to be able to write that on the quiz, okay? All right, I'm not feeling confident that I have this even entered in right, but what I was saying a minute ago is once you're good at this, if you have RREF as the last thing you did, you can just hit enter and it'll do it again. Did anyone get that? That craziness? Okay, so this time we have what situation? Yes, we have a row of zeros. So this first one says x minus z equals -6. The second one says y minus z equals -7. And then we have 0 equals 0, which means many solutions. Okay. What you have to do on the quiz after you write many solutions is write them all in terms of the same variable. So what do these both have in terms of? Z. So we're going to put a z, can be any number. And then we're going to work our way backwards. But what happens is students here will write like -7 or 7 plus y or something. You got to make them in terms of z. So if you get the y by itself, it'll say what? -7 plus z or z minus 7. And if you get the x by itself, it'll say -6 plus z or z minus 6. Did I do those right, guys? So I'm going to write z minus 6, z minus 7, and z. You can write it in the other order. It doesn't matter. Well, as in -6 plus z. You do have to put the x in the x spot and the y in the y spot. Everybody okay? All right, number 4. You guys type this one in quick. I can tell you right now what it's going to be. Did you get a row? Is it 0001 on the bottom? What is the other row above that, Austin? The 2 rows. Did you get ugliness? Okay, do math, enter, enter. This is a great point, guys. You can get fractions out of this. It'll still do it. Do math, enter, enter. What did you get? Okay. Because of this 0 equals 1 thing at the bottom, it is no solution. And honestly, on the quiz, what I do is what I did back here. It looks like this on the quiz, guys. There's 3 of these, and you have to tell me what each one means. Okay? I don't want you to spend the whole hour typing things in your calculator. There are a couple that you have to type and do the typing, But for this question, I just want you to interpret what each of these three means. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, this one was no solution. All right, number 5, we get to do an application. A company manufactures tables, chairs, and stools. Last week it built a total of 275 items. The number of chairs built was 4 times the number of tables and stools built. The total value of these items is $42,125, with a chair selling for $150, a table for $200, and a stool for $75. Write a system of equations to determine the number of each that were built. So what are X, Y, and Z? Okay, it's the number of chairs built, to be very specific. And Y is the number of tables. And Z will be the number of stools. All right, can anybody give me one equation? Doesn't matter what order we put them in. Oops, you're right. Keep going, I just messed up. Equals. Okay, so Tristan found the money. He said they each sell for $150, $200, $75, and we totaled this much. Okay, we got rid of all that. What else do we know?
X, Y.
275 items. Okay, that was the first sentence. Good job. Okay, the number of chairs built was 4 times the number of stools and tables. Tables and stools. This is like on the quiz, and everybody gets this wrong. Okay, the number of chairs built was 4 times the number of tables and stools. So I'm going to assume that we need to add tables and stools together. Okay. Now, what gets multiplied by 4? It says the number of chairs built was 4 times the number of tables and stools. Students always do this. But if it's already, we got too many chairs, right? A ton of chairs, we're not going to multiply it by 4. We're going to multiply the other side by 4 to get X. Some of you were very much on track for that. All right, so there's the number of chairs is 4 times as many as these other guys added together. So if I distribute that, I get X equals 4Y plus 4Z. How could I make that so it fits in a matrix? Okay, so like X minus 4Y minus 4Z equals 0. Is everybody okay that that's equivalent? We just rearranged it because we want X, Y, Z. Okay, we could have moved the X to the other side because it would just be the opposite of all those. It would work. All right, so can you put this in matrix? I'm going to write it. You don't, if you want to just type it in, that's fine. You don't need to write the augmented matrix if you don't have room. Well, you're typing away. I'm just going to write it here. I hope it's nice. I can't remember. What does it come out? 40 in. Okay. So we would write, if this was the quiz, we'd write 220 Okay, we made or we sold or whatever. I'm just trying to make it a short sentence. 220 chairs, 40 tables, and 15 stools. Did I remember the right order, guys? And just to double check, we were supposed to have 4 times as many, right? So we should have a whole bunch more chairs than we do the other ones. Okay. All right. Any questions on that one? All right. Worksheet 9, I think, is next, right? Oh, I just have this. Guys, this is right out of the book, a question. There's some of them where they give you a chart. At the end of the chart, the question is how many days he spent in each city. So he spent a total on hotels of $720, but he went to Venice, Rome, and Naples. So they did 60 plus 120 plus 7. So they just made the row into the matrix, okay? Venice, Rome, Naples, total of $490 on food. Venice, Rome, Naples, total $130 on transportation. They solved, and so then this was actually Venice, Rome, and Naples, okay? So if you see that chart, don't get all freaked out. All right, so your assignment is going to be to do this, but we're going to go to worksheet 9 and figure out how to set these crazy things up. Everybody got 9? All right. This is a little crazy. What you have to do, okay, is put these in for X and this in for Y. If I put that in for X and Y, what am I going to be left with up here? A, B, C, D. So that's how our matrix is going to go. We're going to have A, B, C, D. And it's supposed to equal Y. So I'm actually going to rewrite it real quick. All right, here we go. Ready to try this? Put in a 1 for X, and I will have A times 1 cubed, which is just what? 1. Plus B, X squared. Well, I'm still using this guy, so 1 squared is 1. Plus C times X, which is 1, plus D, which doesn't get anything, equals Y, which was 4. Okay, this is very confusing. It's hard for me even to think about it too, but we're putting these in for X and Y. We're always going to have an A, B, C, D. All right, so the second one, I'm now using this ordered pair. Would have been good if you did different color than blue, Rhonda. Okay, put in a -1. So it's A times -1 cubed. What's -1 cubed? -1. Plus B times -1 squared, which becomes +1. Be careful. Plus C times -1. Plus D equals Y, which was 14. Pretty good. Okay, now we're putting in this point. So it's A times 2 cubed, which is 8, plus B times 2 squared, plus C times X, which was 2, plus D equals -19. All right, last one. Now we're putting in what? -2. So -2 to the third would be -8. -2 squared would be +4 again. C times -2 plus D equals Y, which is 49. Okay, so now we got to put in the matrix. Why am I having so much trouble making this thing smaller today? You know how I usually like slide it off? There, okay. Finally got it. Okay. It is a 4 by 5. Good job. No, what's the coefficient on D? It's 1. It's always 1 on this one. So the first row is 1, 1, 1, 4. Did I do that right? What? No, I didn't put enough ones in. Darn it. 1, 1, 1, 1, 4. Okay, now I should be in the second row. Okay. Yeah, we're going to write the equation with those in there. Good question. Okay, so I get it entered in hopefully correctly. And then I go back to the home screen and do the Rref business again. Anyone else get that mess? Nope, because that's not right. Is mine not in A? Did I put it in something else? Oh, I put it in D. Okay, well, anyway, it'll work. Oops, I got to put Rref. Ugh. Should just let me tell you what you got. Well, that's nice. I'll have it done for a different problem later today then. Because I put it in one I don't usually use. All right, so you get -4, 2, -1, and 7. Is that what you got? Okay, so what are those standing for again, though, on this problem? A equals -4, B equals 2, C equals -1, and D equals 7. Did I get that right? No? Okay. So the equation that we just found is all of these points lie on, what was this equation of? A cubic? So it's -4x cubed plus 2x squared plus or minus 1x plus 7. Now, I wish I had time, but if you go to graph this, you could do trace, and every one of these points is right on that cubic, okay? We just found the cubic equation that lists all those. All right, so as I finish the video again, this is what you're supposed to be working on tonight. And this is a lot of points on the final and on the quiz. This is like the meat of this week, so please make sure you do this. Oh, I have copies of the bookwork. It's up here on top of the black drawers, okay? If you want a copy of the bookwork for this unit.